Hello everyone, welcome to the 2018 Chinese New Year talk. Every year I get a chance to talk about the Feng Shui and the BaZi for the year, and I'm so excited to be able to share this with you on video now so that a lot of you that are not able to join us here in Scottsdale, Arizona has an opportunity to hear what the presentation is about. So hopefully you'll learn a few new things along the way. If you're meeting me for the first time, my name is Jen Stone, and I'm based here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I own Feng Shui by Jen. While I'm predominantly in Arizona, I actually get to travel around the world, consulting with individuals and businesses and teaching Feng Shui programs in many parts of the country as well as overseas. I am connected with the Raymond Lowe School of Feng Shui and Destiny. I get to teach Grandmaster Raymond Lowe's formal training programs, which is a great honor to be able to share this knowledge and making it more accessible, especially here in the West. Grandmaster Raymond Lowe is my teacher and mentor, and so much of what we do here is really in promoting the authenticity and the traditional practice of what makes Feng Shui so wonderful. So, welcome to the year of the Yang Earth Dog. And as I'm filming this already, we are a few days into the dog year. But when I did this presentation, we were still finishing out the rooster year. But at every opportunity, I always like to talk about the different calendar systems because it gets so many people confused as to when things begin and when they end. Typically, we are all fairly familiar with the Gregorian calendar, meaning we recognize the 1st of January as the beginning of the new year. But actually in Chinese culture, when you think of all the public holidays and festivities and celebrations, the Chinese actually follow the lunar calendar, which is based on the movement of the moon. And so oftentimes when people are celebrating Chinese New Year, that date often varies between the middle of January to the middle of February, because it makes sense. When the moon orbits around the earth, it has an unequal phase. That's why some months you have 30 days, some months you have 31 days, etc. So this year, the Chinese New Year, the public holiday celebration, takes place February 16th. But when you're talking about Feng Shui and BaZi, especially when you're talking about time and for new babies being born, in a professional setting, we actually follow the solar calendar, which is the sun, the earth orbiting around the sun. And this is quite straightforward and logical because our analysis and the fundamental idea behind the practice is really in the interpretation of the 5 elements. And so what gives us the 5 elements is not the moon, but the sun. And so the solar calendar always has a February 4th start. Now, once in a blue moon, it may start on the 3rd, but we generally follow the guidelines where it begins on February 4th. So it just so happened to be that this year, the solar calendar is before the lunar calendar year. But in 2017, for example, the year of the rooster, they celebrated the lunar Chinese New Year on January 28th. And the reason why I always make this emphasis in all of my workshops is because if you know anyone having a baby that is scheduled to be born in January, they technically still belong to the previous animal year. And I try to make this emphasis as much as possible because I remember when I was doing a workshop in Florida many years ago, there was a participant in the audience and she had this giant, very intricate Chinese dragon tattooed on her back. And she thought she was born in the year of the dragon, but she was a January baby. So unfortunately, her real zodiac sign is actually the year of the rabbit. So now you know. For us to really understand how the coming new year is going to influence the world and how it's going to impact you, I always try to break down my presentation like this. So the first part, we're going to talk about Feng Shui first, what it is and how to take care of the Feng Shui of your home in the coming new year. Then the second piece, we'll talk about BaZi, which is talking about people. It's looking at your birthday to see how the dog year is going to impact you specifically. And then we can conclude the presentation by looking ahead into the year of the dog and some forecasts and predictions. And of course, we'll round it up with the advice for 2018. As usual, I always have my templates. I like to talk about this particular image. It's called the Cosmic Trinity, or sometimes referred to as the Power of Three, because I think that this image alone, which is the fundamental look into the practice of Chinese metaphysics, really helped to explain the intricate relationship that our environment as well as ourselves come into play when we're looking at changing the outcome of our life and understanding where we're at. So the Cosmic Trinity is composed of 3 equal parts, and these parts are thought to be playing an important role in terms of influencing our experiences. And so the first part is talking about heaven luck. Heaven luck is talking essentially about the things that you cannot change. And these are things like your birthday. So you don't get to choose your birthday, and you also don't get to choose the circumstances in which you were born into. So the Chinese call this destiny. And the beautiful part about all of this discipline and knowledge is that we are gifted with the knowledge of BaZi, which is also called the 4 pillars of destiny. And so we use BaZi as a tool to help us understand our destiny or our path. Then the second, we're talking about earth luck. Earth luck is referring to the benevolent energy of your physical environment. So this is Feng Shui. Like, why did you move to that area? Why did you buy that house? Where you work, etc. So it's talking about our physical environment, the physical aspects of it, as well as the abstract, the energy that we can't necessarily see, but know that it exists. So, and then the third one is called man luck. Man luck is talking about you, and it's referring to your free will and your ability to make choices for yourself. And I like to refer to this diagram because so much misunderstanding is out there when it comes to the effectiveness and the application of Feng Shui. Some people think that if you just Feng Shuied your home, then everything will dramatically change and shift. Now, can it sometimes happen like this? Yes, but I think that there is an important factor behind this that is missing, is that so much of really what's manifesting in your physical space has a lot to do with your personal energy, and this is your birthday. This is BaZi. So I'll use an example where people may want to, maybe there's a person that's interested in cultivating stronger love relationship, romance. And they hire a Feng Shui person to come in and Feng Shui their homes, and you can try to perfect it as much as possible. But maybe in the person's birthday, the focus of their energy space is not really about love. Perhaps it's about making money, focusing on career, or it's a very dynamic time in their life where it's about self-growth and the need to make changes in their life. So it's not quite yet in alignment with connecting with the love relationship. And so the whole idea behind the Cosmic Trinity is really all 3 factors need to be in play in order for you to really, really see the outcome and the change in your life. That's why there's an old saying in Chinese culture. They say first is heaven, then luck, then Feng Shui. Feng Shui is third. So the emphasis of prioritizing Feng Shui before destiny is often the leading causes for why Feng Shui is often misunderstood or thought to be ineffective. I put together this quick snapshot just to show you the different disciplines that fall under the realm of Chinese metaphysics. It's not an all-inclusive list, but these are some of the more popular ones. And just by looking at this list, you can already see that nowhere in here does it have Buddhism. So one of the common misconceptions about Feng Shui is that it is a religion. Now, the closest thing perhaps that could be deemed or mistakenly deemed as a religion would probably be Taoism. But Taoism in and of itself is not a religion, it's actually a philosophy. So let's talk about Feng Shui, earth luck. What is Feng Shui? Well, that's a whole separate conversation altogether. There is a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings and the esoteric, misguided information about what Feng Shui is. But the bottom line is Feng Shui originated from China, and it is a very, very old practice. It comes to us thousands of years ago. And we use Feng Shui simply as a tool to help us understand the energetic qualities of our physical environment. And you don't need to believe in a god or a deity in order to benefit from Feng Shui. Essentially, Feng Shui is kind of like how physicists and chemists and astrophysicists use formulas and different things to help explain energy, while the Chinese use the approach of Feng Shui as a means to help us also understand our environment. The more popular technique that we use is called flying star Feng Shui. It sounds very fancy, but flying means changing, star means energy. And because life is constantly changing, it's the only inevitable thing in life, energy around us is also a dynamic thing. And so flying star Feng Shui is one of the most relevant, applicable, and comprehensive and accurate way of assessing energy in your space, because it takes time and direction into consideration. So without it being too technical, typically a classical Feng Shui approach uses the compass, which you can see on the right hand side, the image. This is the Raymond Low combined Sanyuan Sanhe Lo Pan Feng Shui compass, to help us measure and calculate the energy of our space. So I want you to think of your birthday, for instance. You have a birthday that's based on a snapshot in time. And this snapshot in time essentially maps out the blueprint of who you are as a person in terms of your qualities, your characteristics, and your personalities. And you have an essence. Well, this is the same thing that applies to Feng Shui. We can actually draw out the energy map or the natal chart for your house. And the only way to do that is to understand the time in that very moment when the house was actually built. So there are many other styles and schools of Feng Shui which we do not want to get ourselves mixed up with or confused with. And perhaps the most common one that we encounter, especially here in the West, is an approach called Black Hat Sect Tantric Buddhism Feng Shui, or BTB, or Black Hat Feng Shui in short. But unfortunately, this approach was actually invented more like in the 70s, but it became quite popular going into the 90s, especially here in the US. But this approach pretty much eliminated the use of the compass, which essentially disqualifies itself to be authentic Feng Shui because it ignores the fundamental idea and the approach to Feng Shui by ignoring the concept of time and space. So if you've ever heard of the Bagua map and the love corner and the career corner, please note that this is a newer style of Feng Shui and not the authentic traditional approach. So, just to explain what is Flying Star Feng Shui, without it being too technical, just a quick snapshot. Flying Star Feng Shui, we actually get to work with 9 numbers. Nothing fancy to it besides some people think it's some kind of a numerology. Well, we use numbers as symbols, but they essentially are embodiment of the 5 elements. So for example, the number 1 means water element. And we use these 9 numbers to basically map out how the energy shows up in our space, how it moves, etc. So this is just the list of what the 9 numbers are. And so when we're working on Feng Shui and we're analyzing a person's floor plan, we map out these 9 numbers and we try to locate the best numbers. Well, today, based on the time that we're in, the best numbers are 8, 9, and 1, the ones in red. Current, coming prosperity, and future prosperity. Now, of course, ideally, we want to see these numbers laid out in the important areas of our home, such as the main door, our bedroom, kitchen, living room, right? And then all the other numbers in black are considered outdated or faded energy. And we prefer to see these numbers in wasted rooms like your bathrooms, storage area, laundry room, spare rooms that you don't use, etc. Now, out of the black numbers, number 5 is considered the worst number. We label this as misfortune. And when you come to learn more about Feng Shui, especially Flying Star Feng Shui, you will see many, many, many cases when 5 really does indeed bring a whole lot of trouble and mishaps when it is activated within a space. Now, I do want to clarify that these numbers have nothing to do with house numbers. This is talking about the abstract energy that is inside your home that you can't see, but you're only able to calculate this when you know how to do the Flying Star calculation. So, as with everything, life is always changing. This list, in terms of the quality of this list, will also be shifting as we move into what we call period 9 when we arrive in year 2024. But we still have a long ways to go, a little ways to go, so we don't have to worry about that yet. However, we can use Flying Star Feng Shui is a fantastic forecasting tool and a way for us to also plan if, let's say, someone wants to build a new house, and so we're thinking of the long-term quality or the long-term Feng Shui of the house, then of course we need to be taking that into consideration. This is a typical example of what a floor plan with a Flying Star chart. This is the natal chart of the house, the Flying Star chart superimposed onto a floor plan. And this is a house that was built in 1976 and it has a south-facing direction. And yes, it's very technical and quite intricate. And so if you're interested to learn how to do this, definitely explore taking our training programs. But for those that are familiar with how to read this, you can already, just by doing this, pinpoint potential weaknesses and strengths of the house, and this is what guides us to determine what to activate and enhance and what to suppress and cure within the space. Now, if you have ever had a Feng Shui consultation done, then most likely you will have a floor plan with the Flying Star chart like this. But if you don't, at the very minimum, that's why we visit the annual stars. This is the 2018 energy map for the year. So every year this chart changes because energy moves. Now, please don't be confused and just follow along. The map, and I will walk over here for a second. the map always shows south on top, okay? So the Chinese map is really upside down, or just upside down for our modern way of reading this, but south is on top and north is on the bottom. So when you refer back to the list, the meaning of the numbers, you will want to identify all of the negative numbers and where they are located this year. So for example, number 5, which we know to be as the misfortune star, sits in the north sector. So you have to ask yourself, what is my door? Where is my door? Where is my facing facade? Okay, so if you have a home that is facing north, then you know that the annual visiting star 5 that is related to misfortune is going to fly and take a visit in the north side of your house. And so this is our guide for deciding where to put our cures and where to put our enhancements. So when you just look at this chart, you'll see that 5 is in the north, for example, and then you have 2, which is related to sickness, is in the west sector. Here is a little cheat sheet for you for the year. So these are all the outdated numbers, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the general rule of thumb is that you always, always, always want to cure all of these outdated stars, no matter where they're at. And no matter if you have a good feng shui in your base chart, okay? So again, just ask yourself and prioritize and say, where's my front door? Which is, the door is quite important because that's called the mouth of the house. And then where am I sleeping? So for example, I'm gonna come over. You have a west-facing house. So you know 3, which symbolizes conflict, is in the northeast. Then you will place a red envelope, okay? But maybe you're sleeping in the southwest, your bedroom is in the southwest, then you know 6 means legal trouble, so you're going to put 3 bamboo stalks in a clear glass vase. Of course, the priority is always emphasized where 5 is, so the north sector of any property is going to be the most sensitive. Now, you might be curious as to what are these feng shui trinkets, and the whole purpose why we use these small objects is because they are meant to be subtle, discreet, cheap, and disposable. Because we're not talking about painting walls and buying expensive furniture, because these are only annual influences, meaning they are residing in those areas temporarily for the year. And so we don't want to necessarily purchase anything too expensive, because you have to be okay with throwing them away at the end of the year or recycling them later. But all of these feng shui cure objects is very popular and commonly known when you do feng shui. For example, the wind chime. So many people actually misunderstand to think that wind chimes are used to activate good energy. But actually, wind chimes are used to suppress negative energy. And all of these items have already been well thought out to incorporate the correct elements necessary to suppress the negative energy. For example, you look at the wind chime. We prefer this to be, and I'll just flip it back right here and you can see the table notes 6-rod wind chime. And the reason why we prefer 6 metal rod wind chime, because the correct cure is a metal element, okay? So, why 6? Because 6 represents the metal number. Why rods? Because it's a round shape, and round belongs to the metal element. And why do we prefer a chime that is made of metal, like metallic color, silver, gold, brass, copper, because they are obviously metal. So don't buy bamboo wind chimes. And also when they are ringing, they also make a metal sound. So already in one object, probably you buy for less than 20 bucks, in and of itself already incorporates the correct element. So don't overthink it, just keep it simple. If you have any questions about how to place these cures, just send me an email and I'm happy to guide you to that. What's so interesting is that, like I said, you can use Flying Star as a forecasting tool. Well, the White House, which is the house of the US president, excuse me, has a north-facing direction. This is the whole White House, and it faces north. And based on this year's analysis, 2018, we know that 5 is going to be at the front of the White House. Well, if the president followed Feng Shui, our recommendation probably would be to what? And you can see something important, quite dramatic, at the front of the White House. This is a very large water fountain. So water fountains in Feng Shui are actually used as active objects. So their whole purpose is to stimulate, because they move, they make sounds, they're very dramatic, and so their whole essence is essentially to stimulate energy. But you don't just go around putting water fountains everywhere, because you have to be careful you're not inadvertently stimulating a negative energy. Now, so in this case, this water fountain will be stimulating this annual star 5 at the front of the White House. So I go back to saying, if the president did follow Feng Shui, then the recommendation would be to please turn off the water fountain and to place some kind of metal object at the front of the White House. So you can already see or make a general statement to say that yes, the Feng Shui of the White House in this coming dog year is going to be a little challenging. And when we look at the BaZi portion a little bit later with Donald Trump's birthday, you can also see the alignment, how it also matches up. And the last time that there was a 5 at the front of the White House was actually in the year 2009. And this was a different president. It was during the Obama administration. And even during the Obama administration during this year, it was not a very comfortable time for the former president. And if you just sort of look back in history, what was happening, 2009, we were still barely trying to come out of the market crash. We had an economic downturn. And 2009 was a pivotal time because this is when the president signed a $787 billion stimulus plan to bail the banks and to re-stimulate the job market and the economy. And this was also in the middle of all the controversies around Guantanamo Bay, and also we had very active turmoil in the Middle East, and we ended up sending 20,000 additional troops to Afghanistan. So this particular year, you can already see in history, and it just repeats itself, very interesting pattern, that it did not bring an easy year for the person who is living in the house, because it's a White House, but it is a house that the president also lives in. So take care of the front facade of your home with 6 metal rod wind chime. But of course, Flying Star Feng Shui is not just a macro practice talking about the inside 4 walls of your house, but you can also apply this in a macro scale. So in terms of when you're looking at a neighborhood, a city, or a country, or just countries from a global standpoint, according to the geographic source, these are the countries that are considered to be in the north part of the map. And already you can see the United States is in number 5, and it's funny that they rank us with number 5. So these are the countries that we're going to watch out, pay more attention in the coming year to see what type of turmoil or conflict might be arising during the year of the dog. If you're building a home or thinking about renovating, every year we try to avoid a particular area inside our space to not disturb. And this direction is governed by whomever is taking the throne, and we call this the Duke. So every year there is a different Duke or different king. Last year was the rooster, this year is the dog, and the dog represents the northwest direction. So if you're thinking about renovating your kitchen and your kitchen is in the northwest direction of your house, perhaps you may consider waiting until we go into 2019, which is the year of the pig, because that will have a different direction. Or if you insist and you must do construction, then it might be wise to go ahead and engage a professional to help you come up with an auspicious date to start your construction. And there's also other feng shui cures that need to be put in place to help minimize any kind of trouble that could be caused by disturbing the earth. Okay, so that is classical feng shui / flying star in a nutshell. We were able to do that in less than 30 minutes, but of course there's so much more to this knowledge, and if you're ever interested in wanting to learn it for yourself, it is truly one of the best investments you can make for yourself. That is a lifelong knowledge that you can use to help yourself and to help the people that you care about. Here at the Raymond Lowe School of Feng Shui and Destiny, we certainly offer the Feng Shui training program, and I get a whole slew of students from all walks of life. Many of them are interior designers and architects and real estate agents, or just people who have always been curious and enthusiastic about wanting to learn more about creating a special space. Certainly the program that we offer here is quite high standard and authentic, and we hope that you'll be able to join us. Now this slide is showing Scottsdale, but if you go on my website, you can see that we are offering classes in different parts of the country, and we keep adding new ones throughout the year. And so please check back in to see that we may end up being in a city near you. All right, so we're gonna move on now to part two. Part two, many people find very fascinating, and it's certainly one of Master Lowe's most favorite subjects. And we're talking about heaven luck. So this part we're going to talk about BaZi and talking about birthdays. So what is BaZi? If you're not familiar with this, the easiest way for me to explain it is we just went over feng shui, talking about understanding the energy of your space. Well, BaZi is understanding the energy of people. And how do we do that? We do that through their birthdays. And so much about what is happening in our life, our experiences, things that pop up, events that are popping up. And we're talking about events, different events like falling in love, having a baby, getting a new job, moving to a new city, and to also things that are not so comfortable, like getting sick or losing a job. All of these things are actually showing up already in your birthday, and it's absolutely fascinating. Master Lowe likes to call this like a data bank. Okay, your birthday is like a data bank. It's a database full of information, and so many people want to learn their BaZi because they want to know where they're at in their life so that they can make better and more informed decisions. Sometimes a lot of people just desire to want to have validation, confirmation, or some guidance and clarity as they move forward with whatever endeavors that they're working on, and to understand how the coming year is going to show up in their life. So we know that life is always changing. Sometimes we feel good, sometimes we feel bad. And so when you know that if you have something good coming along, how can you better manage yourself so that you can optimize on what we call good luck time? And similarly, if you know it's a challenging time, what can you do to manage that, your behavior and your attitude, so that you can weather the storm with grace and perspective? So this is just an example of a BaZi chart. You guys know Meghan Markle. She's going to be a princess marrying Prince Harry this year. So just by looking at a person's chart like this, they're all just elements, because when we were born, we're a composite of elements. We're made up of different elements that, you know, shapes the person that we are and the path that we're on. And so when we understand our composites, you can already tell so much about the person's characteristics and also the journey that they're on. And so many people, you know, we can put Oprah's up here just to understand and see why they are the way that they are and when they were able to achieve success, and also understand when they are experiencing some struggles and obstacles in their life. But you know, this is not just confined to people, because we're talking about time here. We're talking about events and time. And so I always say, if you know how to do Flying Star and BaZi, and you know the time, the date and the time of a particular event, you can put the chart together and really understand what was the makeup of the energy in that moment in time, and then how did it affect me. So for example, when you learn BaZi, you can see why dramatic and drastic tragedies occur, because you can put the energy map of that moment in time and understand why it was so impactful and so memorable. For example, like the 9/11 terrorists, we can look at the tsunami. So for those that know how to analyze this, can see the significance of it. But I also wanted to show an example when a person, for example, you get in a car and you're driving, it just seems like a normal day, and then someone bumps you, you get into a car accident. When you learn BaZi, you start to ask yourself, is there really such thing as accident? And it's a little bit hard to swallow, especially when you're thinking about, you know, I got sick, or I lost my job. You know, are these things really accidents, or are they really meant for me to happen? But it's so interesting to analyze. For example, there's 3 passengers in a vehicle and they get into that car accident. So you capture the chart of that particular moment in time when it occurred, and how that energy impacted 3 different people in 3 different ways. Of course, that's a much more technical explanation, but it's truly fascinating to understand how, for example, one person can walk away from the crash with no injuries, and then one person could be hurt. And of course, we use BaZi for compatibility. You can see why certain people are attracted and drawn to different people. Sometimes people call this love at first sight, your instant attraction. And while there are perhaps some chemistry explanation behind that, in BaZi we explain that in the elements. And this is not just applicable to romantic relationships. I've certainly worked with a lot of couples, and I've also worked with business partners. And very common in Asian culture, when you're bringing in a partner in a joint venture, or a key employee, for example, they usually like to understand their compatibility profile in terms of where they at in their luck, and also how the coming energy is going to impact them, because energy is just energy, you know, like attracts like. So when you're in good luck, you tend to attract people who are also in good luck, and you make great decisions, and that's when you're making a lot of achievements. Master Lo says, often likes to describe it as you have to look at your BaZi like your immune system. So if your immune system is strong, you can withstand a little bit of bad feng shui, right? Because if you go back to the meaning of the stars, there's only 3 positive numbers out of 9. That's not even close to 50%. But not a lot of people get to sleep. You know, they don't get to sleep in an 8, 9, or 1, but nothing dramatic really happens to them. And most often that can be explained because their BaZi is in good luck, meaning they're energetically protected, they're strong. And so the disturbance to their physical body is not so drastic. Maybe they just have a cold, or maybe they just don't have very deep sleep, but they don't get sick or have accidents. It is when your BaZi is in bad luck. For example, you're in a clash or under penalty. Like, all of these things make your personal energy much more sensitive to the feng shui of your home. So if you are already under clash or in penalty and then you're sleeping in a bad feng shui room, then of course that is when the mixture of energy starts to manifest in an adverse kind of way. So we understand our BaZi because we use it to understand people. Master Lo always likes to say, you know, if everybody just learned BaZi, we might have a much more peaceful place to live in, because we truly have appreciation for the people that are in our lives. And I have certainly BaZi'd. I have done a lot of BaZi sessions for my clients all around the world, and also for me personally, I have seen it. And it's so interesting to see how the elements truly does not discriminate. And it shows up whether you're the king or you're just a regular person. And so I believe that when you understand your BaZi, you know, these are the benefits. It's truly understanding yourself. You know, we're always in pursuit of wanting to grow, wanting to be better, understanding and forgiving ourselves and learning different aspects of our strengths. Where can we, you know, shine, and also what areas of ourselves we need to improve on or work on. And yes, there's a common saying in the West, especially, that we don't really believe in luck. We create our own luck. Now that statement to me is actually quite, it's half true. Yes, you do create your own luck because that's your ability to take actions in your life. But wouldn't it be even more wonderful to, you know, to align your actions and make your decisions in alignment with where you're at energetically? So also to cultivate positive and meaningful relationships. I think we've already touched on that. Better understanding your spouse, better understanding your children, how to support them. Are you utilizing your employees in the right spots, etc.? But yes, in your BaZi chart, you can also see what areas of your health needs improvement. We're all born out of balance, and therefore the whole purpose of life is really to find balance. And so sometimes we are very much out of balance and we start to see sickness manifesting in our bodies. And but there are many ways where we can understand our chart and see where could be the telltale signs, why some people gravitate to, for example, cancer, which is an earth-related disease, why some people gravitate to heart diseases, which is a fire element disease. And you can already see that in the chart, and you get to be a proactive participant in your life to start addressing those areas in your life so that you can optimize or shoot for optimal health and longevity. And one of the best things about BaZi is really this whole gift of perspective. It is very empowering. I get to work with so many people that no matter where they're at in their journey of life, and I truly have a deep appreciation for the human experience when it comes to the highs and the lows of it. And we learn to stay grounded in our experiences and to instill gratitude, and at the same time have understanding and feel empowered along the way. And of course, we always do BaZi with Feng Shui because it helps us to prioritize, you know, how to redirect some people based on their space. So this is a typical Chinese birth chart. When I do this presentation in person, all of my participants have a copy of their charts, and I talk a little bit about how to read their charts. so many people tell me things like, oh Jen, I'm a monkey and I'm a tiger and this and that. They're identifying themselves based on the year that they were born. But actually when you learn BaZi, we don't do the analysis based on the year. Because actually the most important information, or at least the most sensitive information in the birth chart, is the day that you were born, okay? The day that you were born. This is like your zodiac sign. So for example, in Western astrology, people often label themselves, I'm a Libra, I'm a Capricorn, etc. Well, in BaZi, you would identify yourself based on the element of the day that you were born, not based on the year. So for example, like this person wouldn't be analyzed based on the year of the rabbit, but this person is actually a Yang Earth person. And this is the approach that we use to basically interpret the person's chart and analyze their destiny. So I want you to think of BaZi like this, as a book. So for example, when you were born, you were like a book. There is an essence to you no matter how old you are or what year we're in, okay? Because these 8 characters are fixed. But then the second half of your chart looks like this with a bunch of numbers. And these columns are called luck pillars. And the luck pillars shows that you have, I'm gonna come over here. The luck pillars are essentially like individual chapters in a book. And so for this person, they started their own independent luck at the age of 6. And this is just a mathematical calculation based on the Chinese calendar. So some people can start their luck as young as 0, meaning when they were first born, and then as old as 10 years old, okay? But with this example, this person started at the age of 6, and every column or every luck pillar represents 10 years of life. So I always advise clients to remember this, because every 10 years they're essentially changing luck. They're shifting, they're transforming. And so this person would be 6, 16, 26, 36, etc. So one luck pillar already contains a whole decade of life. That's a lot of life in one pillar. But the whole idea is to be able to look at the elements showing up in your luck to see, are these elements favorable to you, meaning good luck, or are they unfavorable to you, so they're bad luck, okay? So when we look at the person's BaZi like a book, I want you to think of the luck pillars like the individual chapters in the person's life. So sometimes the theme is all about love and relationship and family. Other times it's about making money, and sometimes it also shows the other side of life, which is struggle. So for example, we can look at Hillary Clinton's chart, and you can see that Hillary Clinton, even though she is born on the pig, she is also a Yang Earth person, like a mountain, okay? And a lot of people say, you know, why did she lose the election, for instance? Because actually Hillary Clinton is in good luck. Let me see if I have this. These are her, fire is considered her best element, okay? So this is a little bit technical, but just follow along. But Hillary Clinton likes fire, meaning when there is fire in the year, fire in her luck cycle, that is when she is feeling really good, very strong, still making a lot of achievements, but she doesn't like metal and water. And so Hillary Clinton is going to be 71. So she is actually in the middle of this luck pillar, as you can see. So 65 to 75, and it's all fire, fire, fire. Even when she turns 75, this is also strong fire. So she has 20 years of fire luck, meaning good luck. And so a lot of people ask me, well, then how did Donald Trump win the presidency if she is in good luck? Well, remember, every luck pillar has 10 years, and every year has a different combination of elements. So sometimes even when you're in good luck, you may have, 1 or 2 years in there that you're not so comfortable and you just want to forget about. Well, you can already see actually in Hillary's chart that she is not destined to be a president. And why do I say that? Well, the presidential election in the US always takes place in November. And November is the month of the pig, and the pig is a water element. So energetically in that time, it is not supportive to her. Now, Donald Trump, on the other hand, doesn't share the same elements. He actually doesn't like fire, but he loves metal and he loves water. And so how do we explain this? I'll just show you very quickly. The election was in 2016, which is the year of the monkey. The year of the monkey. And the monkey is actually a metal element. So the year already favored Donald Trump, and it was not so favorable to Hillary Clinton. And then on top of that, the election was in the month of November, to which we know Hillary doesn't like, but Donald Trump does. And of course, the monkey was also Donald Trump's nobleman year. So energetically speaking, Trump received a lot of support, a lot of help from the elements of that moment in time. Okay? She actually has very little chance to win the presidency because even when she ran against Obama, and Obama follows the same element as Donald Trump, so Obama also likes water, and that's why it's much harder for Hillary to compete against. When I did my annual forecast at the beginning of 2016, I had predicted that Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner would probably split up or have some marriage trouble. And when you see a chart like this, you can see why some people have a pattern when it comes to their relationship. Ben Affleck likes to break up with the girl in the monkey year and then always has a new love interest in the rooster year. And why is this? Is because the monkey is a clash energy in his chart that affects the relationship. And then the rooster is his peach blossom, so it's all about love. Now, does it mean he'll always break up in the year of the monkey? Probably not, but when we're talking about this, when we bring it back to regular normal people, the advice would be yes, the disturbance or the disruption in your relationship area will be temporary. It will be 1 year. But after that, you get a chance to rekindle your love. And I think even he and Jennifer Gardner had tried to reconcile during the rooster year. So very interesting how that pops up. And of course, we use famous people because their lives are a bit more public and much more entertaining to look at. We will look at Julia Roberts a little later, but there is something about her chart that is actually very pivotal, especially in this coming dog year. So we'll revisit her in a second. Then when we're looking at BaZi charts from a health perspective, so Jackie O and Farrah Fawcett are two of many examples of people who succumbed to an earth-related disease, which is cancer. Cancer, pancreas, your stomach, spleen, the lower part of your body, because earth represents the cells and the muscles and our overall immune system. You can already see when you learn BaZi, you will learn how to pinpoint areas of concern when it comes to the health aspect. I added Ivanka Trump here because she is actually strong metal, and she has a lot of metal element in her chart. And Donald Trump, like I said earlier, he likes metal. That's why he has a much closer affinity and closer relationship with his daughter, because her BaZi is made up of a lot of metal. So when you ask yourself, why are you drawn to the people in your life where you feel much closer or very connected with, when you know how to do BaZi, you can check and you can see that the person has a lot of the elements that you like, that you're looking for, etc. And it's fascinating. Yes, this is the very, very fun part about BaZi, because it's so relatable. You can see that in your interaction with people, and you can definitely evaluate and examine your own experiences, and truly fascinating because it is all encompassed just within a single birthday. So let's get to the forecasting part. Ask yourself what year you're born, okay? If you're born in the year of the dragon, and I've already listed out the years up there showing the year of the dragon. And if you have a dragon, or if you're born in the year of the dragon, then 2018, the dog year, is a clash year. Clash means when an element sees an element, they fight, and so we call that clash. And clash means change. So there's a lot more dynamic movement happening in the coming dog year. So being open and ready for change is one way of managing your clash year. And similar to how we put different objects in our house to take care of the feng shui of our house, if you're born in the year of the dragon, you also put a cure. You carry your cure for the remainder of the year. And this year you carry the pendant of a rabbit. And of course, the traditional approach is to carry the Chinese jade pendant. And this is, I carry this at my office. A lot of my clients purchase them. And it doesn't have to be huge or dramatic or anything like that, but it just can be a small pendant that you put in your keychain, or put it inside your purse, or you know, if you're driving around a lot, then you can put it inside your car. Some people like to buy jewelry, and they buy that so they can wear them. The whole idea is you want it to be 3D, something that you can touch and feel, and kept close to you, all right? But this is not confined to just the year that you were born, like I said, because your whole chart is derived in a much more complex way. You have to know how to read the Chinese calendar to get the composite of your chart. But the one that we're more concerned with is if you were also born on the day of the dragon. Remember, the day is the most sensitive pillar because this represents you. This is your day master or your zodiac sign. So for example, this person is a yang water person and born on a dragon day. So the day pillar represents everything in the person's life. It affects their relationship, their home, their career, money, health, like this. So the other pillars, it affects different people in your life depending on if they're still around, but the day pillar is always the one that you want to protect. So if you're born on the day of the dragon, then you must be extra careful this coming dog year and be aware and open to the possibility of things changing a lot, change in direction, okay? Not so good to make long-term commitments going into the dog year because plans will change. But you also have to ask yourself, what aspect of your life right now going into the dog year that you want to change? Some people, for example, they want to move houses. So yes, the dog year is an invitation to go ahead and align yourself to make that move. If it's about your job, should I be looking for a job? Is it time for me to quit and try something different? Yes, then that's how you satisfy the clash. If you have some concerns or worries around your relationship, this is a time where the energy will be extra sensitive around your marriage or your partnership, etc. It could be a year for both of you to explore, you know, communicating better, being more patient, having some compassion, or what Master Lo likes to advise is to travel separately so that you don't instigate misunderstanding and miscommunication on a frequent basis, because it will bring some disturbance or disruption in your relationship aspect. So similar to the year that you were born, you carry the pendant of the rabbit, but of course the dragon can reside anywhere in the pillars. you can be born on the month of the dragon or the hour of the dragon. But really, out of the 4 pillars, the day pillar is the one that we definitely want to pay closer attention. Here are just some examples of famous people that were born on the day of the dragon. This is Prince Philip, married to Queen Elizabeth. He's born on the dragon day. And he's also quite old. I think he's turning 97 years old. So the clash year means something will impact his home, something will change. But not only is this affecting him, but also his wife, who is the Queen. Queen Elizabeth is also born on the day of the dragon, but she's also born in the month of the dragon. You can see this. So she has a double clash, okay? So definitely the energy of the dog year will have some kind of impact affecting the royal family. But not only that, the dog year also changes and has a connection to Kate Middleton. So what could this be? This is also a we call this a total clash year, because there's a clash up here and a clash with the dragon. Total clash means her world turns upside down. And so how can the world turn upside down for Kate Middleton? Perhaps she becomes the next queen, because you can see it also impacts Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. This is another person. Edward Snowden is currently in hiding somewhere in Russia. A very wanted person here in the US. Well, he also was born on the day of the dragon, and he has a clash. So clash means energy spits you out. It's not a time for laying low. Clash means you're out and about. It's more travel opportunities. It's more dynamic, active movement. And what does this mean is maybe he will find another country or place to hide, or he's going to be a bit more active, like noisier, publishing articles or giving interviews or tweeting, okay? Or if he's not careful, he could get caught in the year of the dog. But just for fun, there are so many beautiful, famous ladies that are also have so many clashes, and I'm just gonna run this through. You can see. And I like to put this here so that I can pay attention in the coming year to see how the dog year is going to affect these famous ladies. All right, so that's clash. The next thing we want to pay attention to is earth penalty. And earth penalty is always serious. It's always scary. Clash doesn't necessarily have to mean bad, because clash means change, and sometimes change needs to take place in order for us to live a healthier, happier life. But penalty, on the other hand, is not so much so. And earth penalty is much serious because it takes 3 animals to form. And the way the animals form is you have the ox, the goat, and the dog. And so the whole idea is, if your BaZi chart, for example, like this one, already has the ox and the goat, born on the month of the goat, and the hour of the ox. So this person already has the ox and the goat. That means they're just waiting for the dog energy to arrive. And when the dog energy arrives, it's going to connect with the goat, the ox, like this, and it's going to form a string called earth penalty, okay? So we can look at a couple of examples here. For example, Princess Diana, all right? So Princess Diana was already born with 2. So she was born in the year of the ox and the day of the goat. Okay, ox, goat, ox, goat. That means she's only waiting for the dog to appear all her life. Now, when she turned 32 years old, you can see, because she started her first luck at 2. So 2, 12, 22, 32. She entered the luck of the dog. So this particular time, her 30s, is a very sensitive time in her life because now you have the goat, ox, dog, the penalty. But she doesn't die. She doesn't die right away at the age of 32. She actually passed when she turned 36 years old. But that was also the year of the ox and the hour of the ox. So again, this is kind of like a dormant energy ready to roll, and then you have to be stimulated. So it's a lot like Feng Shui. You have a base, an essence to what's going on, and then the annual energy creates the events. So of course she has so many clash and penalty, and also earth is her unfavorable element. That's why this was quite a tragic time in her life. Now we can look at Julia Roberts. We revisit hers, and you see she was already born with the whole string in her chart. She's born on the year of the goat, month of the dog, day of the ox. So she already has the full string, the whole earth penalty. And what's interesting is when you learn BaZi, you'll see that this metal element represents her man. Okay, we call this power element, and this is the man. And this man sits on top of the penalty. So the whole, even Julia Roberts has a reputation, a write-up about her that she is a pretty woman, she has everything. The only thing she doesn't have is love. But she is married and she has a family. But she, the men are always not so happy with her, even though she is a pretty woman. And so the dog year, when we come to the dog year, this dog year is going to activate, stimulate, wake up the penalty string in her life. So we will watch her in this coming year to see what happens. But interestingly enough, 3 years ago, which was the goat year, okay, so goat, right? She has sensitivities with 3. Some people like Diana only worries about the dog, but she has to worry 3 because she was already born with 3, okay? So it would be the goat year, the dog year, the ox year, like this. So during the goat year, which was 2015, activated this penalty and clash. And so there's also some kind of disruption in her marriage. There were some reports even that have said that perhaps her and her current husband were already living separate lives or living separately. So that's why 2018, here we go again. She has to be quite careful. But you know what's so interesting is when you look back in her younger life, so this is the luck of the ox, so 24 to 34, the luck of the ox. So see, ox again, stimulate this energy. Now she has had a lot of relationships during this time. Lyle Lovett, Kiefer Sutherland, Dylan McDermott, many men. But what happened? They all break up, okay, because the power element is not so happy. So then if she survives this year, the dog year, then she has to worry again about the year of the ox, which is 2021. So she is also, she needs to be careful of cancer type diseases, earth related diseases, because she has a little bit of what Farrah Fawcett and Jackie O, and she also does not like the earth element. Okay, so here's Donald Trump. So when you look at Donald Trump, actually Donald Trump only has 1. He was born on the day of the goat. So some people are like, oh, okay, well that's not too bad, right? But unfortunately, when he turned 68, you can see 68 right here, he entered into the luck of the ox, okay? So now, because he is 72 years old, so he's in the middle of this luck right now. So when he turns 68, there's the ox, there's the goat. So what is he waiting for? The dog. So the dog, the goat, the ox will activate his earth penalty. And also, Donald Trump doesn't like earth. And this coincides with the feng shui of the White House having 5 at the front of the White House. So bad feng shui, bad BaZi, I think you can piece the story together to predict what the coming year will look like and how it will reflect in the state of the country, because he's the president, like he's the CEO of the country, and so much of the leaders' energy chart reflects back on how they make decisions and how they lead, etc. But you see, Obama actually also has an earth penalty like Julia Roberts. So he already has a year of the ox, month of the goat, hour of the pig. So he already has this string, and so he has to be careful with the year of the dog. But I think the year of the dog will impact more his children, because he was born in the hour of the dog. So it could be his children. I know that he has 2 girls, so maybe some worries around that area. But so we can apply the same concept to him like we did with Julia Roberts. You look at 2015 because he is also sensitive to all 3 elements. And so 2015 was also a very uncomfortable year for Obama. That was actually when his ratings, people's approval went dramatically down. And so not the easiest year. And he is like Donald Trump, he also doesn't like Earth. So we get to look at Queen Elizabeth again. We already know that she has a double clash because she has these 2 dragons, but the Queen also has an earth penalty. You see, she is born in the hour of the ox, and she is going to be, what is this, 87, if I can do my math. So she is right here, 85, and this is the luck of the goat. So ox, goat, dog. All right, so the Queen actually has what I call a trifecta year, because she has a double clash, change, dramatic change, a string of penalty, so maybe sickness, and then she also doesn't like Earth. And you factor in that she is also quite old, quite fragile. So perhaps she steps down in the coming year, and that's why we see in Kate Middleton's chart how that all kind of shows up, change in the monarchy in the UK. You know what's interesting too, if you read her biography, 1970 was the year of the dog. So the dog, she doesn't like the dog, but this is the year when there was an assassination attempt on her life. And but of course 1970 she was around here. I think she was finishing this luck, going into this luck, so she wasn't here, right? So she doesn't have an earth penalty string, and she survived. She survived because 45, this is the pig, this is a nobleman luck and good luck, and it's the water element, so that's why she's able to survive. But when you come to something like this and it's bad luck, bad element, then you have clash and all kinds of penalty happening, then of course your energy field is much more sensitive and susceptible to sickness and accidents and things like that. These are just some more examples of famous people with the earth penalty. I don't need to go through them. These are just for fun. This one is interesting. Monica Lewinsky also has 2. She's like Princess Diana. So she was born in the year of the ox, the month of the goat. So again, she's just waiting for the dog. So this dog year, I don't know, maybe she will come to the surface again. I was reading the news maybe a month or so ago. She had written some kind of article, so maybe the dog year she'll come back into the surface, and perhaps not so positively received because of the penalty. But we all know Monica Lewinsky's role in the famous scandal during the Clinton administration. She was actually in this luck. She was in 25 to 35, and look, that's the luck of the dog. So she had ox, goat, dog. So bad luck. And of course, when you're doing something not so nice, then you can get into deep trouble. And also she is a strong metal girl, so she doesn't like earth. Also very similar to all the examples we've shown with Donald Trump and Princess Diana and the Queen, Jackie O, Farrah Fawcett, all of these people, they don't like earth, and then they're susceptible to this earth penalty. So that's why you have to be quite careful. So Meryl Streep also has this year. So many people. Malala is actually quite, I'm a little worried about her actually. So she is like, she has the same kind of configuration as Monica Lewinsky, born in the year of the ox and the month of the goat. So she is also yin wood, okay, doesn't like earth. And of course now 2018, right, then she has an earth penalty string. So I can see her life has been quite tough, okay. And when she turns, so she's still very young, she's 21, so she's in the middle of this metal luck. But see, when she turns 29, this is, oops, I guess 29 is the luck of the dog. So this is like Princess Diana, how Princess Diana has 2, and then she turned 32 into the luck of the dog. So Malala also has this luck of the dog. So again, very sensitive. And something happened to Malala. She was actually shot. They tried to also attempt to assassinate her. That was October 9th, 2012, and that also happened in the dog. So very scary. Okay. And now I leave the last piece to yourself. This is talking about man luck. It's talking about you, your ability to make choices for yourself. We're so excited that Grandmaster Lo has agreed to return to the US again to teach one of his favorite subjects, which is BaZi, 4 Pillars of Destiny, and I Ching Divination in San Francisco. And so if you want to learn it, this is a great time to join the group, join the program, and learn and be fascinated by it. And it's definitely something that you can apply in every facets of life. After 2018, I will be taking over the BaZi training program in 2019 and onwards. And we will be in San Francisco this coming year, the 18th through the 25th. So if you want some information on that, please do email me. It's so much fun. All right, let's talk about the last piece now of the dog year. Yang Earth Dog. This is a very, very heavy earth year because it's the pair of elements are both earth elements. So I described this like mountain on top of mountain, very, very heavy. Where does it come from? Well, it comes from the Chinese calendar. It's been invented in 2600 BC, so it's quite old. And the calendar is just a composite of the 5 elements. So it looks something like this. So if you want to learn BaZi, you only have to learn 22 Chinese characters. And many foreigners are able to learn how to read this and write it. And I always advise our students to learn to write it. It's much more authentic. And they just go in 2 sequences to form 60 combination. Okay, 60 combination. And that's why we have a pattern where we return to the same energy again every 60 years. So if you know anyone, for example, who is turning 60 years old this year, then that means they were born on a Yang Earth Dog year, because you repeat this every 60 years. So that's why every year the elements are quite precious, because they don't return to us for another 60 years. But the Chinese calendar looks like this. This is Grandmaster Raymond Lo's 1000-year calendar. And as you can see, every day is made up of different elements. So when you learn how to read the calendar, you'll learn to associate the elements and how it affects you on a day-to-day basis. And this is how we determined the year that we're in, the year of the dog. The 5 elements table, which is the Bible, essentially the Bible of Chinese medicine, again, put together by the Yellow Emperor thousands of years ago. Of course, this is the original table when life was super duper simple, but as life has since evolved and life is much more complex, of course, this table has now expanded, but this is the original table. And when I'm talking about the elements, it's beyond the physical manifestation of the element that you see in nature. So for example, earth is talking about mountain, water is talking about the ocean, fire is talking about the sun, etc. But when you learn Feng Shui and BaZi, you start to associate every element in every facets of life. They can be associated with sounds and emotions and numbers and direction and colors and organs and etc, etc, etc. And that's why there is a saying that if you learn the deep meaning of the 5 elements, then you have a great head start to understanding life. So because this is an Earth year, we're going to be focusing on the theme surrounding what Earth really means. So let's start by looking at Yang Earth. Like I said, Yang Earth is talking about the mountains, tall buildings, the roads and bridges and highways. It's talking about the soil, literally earth, the ground that you're walking on. And from a health perspective, it's talking about the overall immune system of the body, such as your cells, right? The thyroid, the stomach region, the center region of their body, which includes our pancreas, the spleen, our digestive system. For taste, it's related to something sweet. For colors, it's earth tone colors, brown, beige, terracotta, etc. And earth also the dog earth represents the pause between the season. That's why the earth element shows up throughout the year. You have spring, summer, fall or autumn, and then winter, but the earth energy shows up in between the seasons. So that's why they show up throughout the season. And the dog itself as an element is actually quite ominous and mysterious. It's a very special animal, along with the dragon. These 2 animal signs out of the 12 zodiac signs are actually very unique all on its own. The dog, for example, can never be a nobleman. It can never be a peach blossom, academic star, or any of those good, happy, favorable, symbolic meaning. Actually, the dog means spirit. It means underground, underneath. And so that's why I put the angel statue there, because it's saying that the angels are missing. It represents spirit, so that's why I think on a global scale, more and more people are returning back to the core of what it means to live where they're at, coming back to home, the desire to want to explore things in a much deeper aspect, becoming more spiritual, for example. It's so interesting to watch a lot of my past clients that have been quite skeptical. Suddenly they come into the dog year and they're much more open to exploring life in a whole different and unconventional way. And dog is also talking about underground. So actually I had written an article talking about ancient tombs excavation and a lot of the famous archaeological excavation, because excavation means you are digging down into the earth and you're uncovering all of these sites and tombs from ancient days. So yes, it also means tunnel underground, and because the Yang Earth energy is also talking about the mountains and the buildings. So mountain is talking about earthquakes and volcanoes, mudslides, landslide, avalanches, buildings collapsing, roads and bridges colliding like this, and also perhaps more discovery underground. Actually, I just watched the news the other day, just shy of the dog year, the Egyptian archaeologists just made a finding of a new tomb for an Egyptian princess. So it's happening in the year of the dog. And also the dog, we say it's ominous because I put this image here. You're probably wondering, what the heck does this mean? It's actually fire extinguishing. Every element has a life cycle, and the fire element goes to die in the dog, meaning the fire element is absent in the dog. That's why we call the dog the grave of fire. And then of course it rises again in the spring, and then you have summer, and then you have fall, and when the dog arrives, the fire element goes to sleep. Already talked about Mother Nature. We're expecting to see more earth-related disasters. You can see the volcanic activities happening around the world. We have tons of earthquakes, and of course earthquakes are triggering buildings collapsing, things like this. And also need to be careful around roads. We have a lot of railway tracks colliding, trains colliding, accidents, multi-car pileups on roads, etc. This is all the influence of the Earth year. And when we're talking about the essence of the elements, we can also see that it's associated to every emotion. And I'm laughing, I like my emoji here on the earth element for meditation. So you see, when we're talking about the absence of fire, because the dog means there is no fire, you can look at this table and say, okay, absence of fire means absence of joy. Fire element is associated with the emotion related to joy and celebration, happiness and optimism. And as you can see in the world around you, there's already telltale signs of the feeling of, there's a bleak kind of energy around, and people feel a bit depleted or defeated and depressed and hesitant and less confident, etc. And this is all again in alignment with the energy that is showing up in the coming year. So like everything else, like we say, there's a life cycle. When we make our predictions when it comes to understanding the coming year, you can look at the stock market, for example. Well, who are the players in the stock market? And that's people, right? So what is influencing people's moods is the 5 elements. So when you learn BaZi, you can actually trace the behavior of the stock market to as early as the 1900s to examine when the market is doing very well, the economy is thriving, job market is good, people are making money. That is when there's a lot of fire elements showing up in the time. But on the opposite end, when there is too much water element, which is associated with the emotion of fear and panic and worry, that is when the market crashes. So here are some examples. If we just simply look at the previous one that we had. So 2006, I'm gonna come over here. 2006, you probably already, if you don't read Chinese, you may be already familiar with this character. This is the year of the dog. So 2006 is the year of the dog. And we were already starting to see telltale signs of the market going down because the fire energy is going to die. So when you think back now, which is 2018, 12 years later, we're again in the year of the dog. So we can already see some kind of pattern. But as the world moved on, we moved to 2007, 2008, right? So the fire goes to die in 2006. And then 2007, 2008, these were 2-year stretch of water years. Water is fear. And you can already see the downturn in the economy. But then we started to see signs of improvement, signs of recovery, which is in the year of 2013, 2014, and they're marked in red because these were 2 fire years. So maybe it has nothing to do with the stimulus plan or Obama, but it definitely has a pattern of following the Chinese calendar. So when you do this, you can actually trace this to many types of market activity, and you can see how much that really aligns. So even when it comes to a single day, if you follow the Dow Jones Industrial at all, sometimes they'll say today the stock market had its largest gain. If you read the Chinese calendar, you check the element of the day, you'll see that the day has a lot of fire. And then the opposite goes, today the Dow Jones has its largest fall, largest loss. And you check the calendar and that day could be a water day. So very interesting. And in the stock market, they have a terminology that they call Black October, because the month of October is actually the dog month, okay? Every October. And all the time in the month of October, there's always a blip that happens in the stock market. And some of the more memorable market crashes, like the Great Depression, happened, look at this, all in October, meaning all in the month of the dog. And then here are some, like I said, the examples of biggest day losses are also happening in the month of the dog. So this is just month. Now we're translating this to mean the whole year. The year of the dog can be quite disruptive when it comes to the economic health of our country. Now, if you play the market, every industry belongs to an element. And of course, this is not an all-inclusive list, but these are the more popular ones. Because we're talking about the earth year, we're going to focus on industries that belong in the earth element, like high tech and hotels and properties, software, feng shui, like this, okay? These are the industries that we are predicting to be thriving and the industries that will be struggling a little bit. So during the year of the dog, the industries that belong to the wood and fire elements will do very well this year, because there is wood to the earth element means money. So fashion, environment, media, people that do hair, creative, artistic things like this will actually see money, will make money this year. And those belong in the fire industry will be quite productive because it sees earth as its output. So these things are moving forward, okay, making good progress. Earth is a little bit tough because it will see a lot of competition, because earth to earth is friends and competitors. So they still have a lot of activities, good movement, but a little bit stuck because you have more disruption. I think the earth industries will improve going into the year 2019, 2020, because that is the money year for earth industries. Then of course, for metal and water, you belong to these industries, then the year of the dog will be a little bit more challenging. When we make predictions on how or which countries will be thriving or which countries will have a little bit more problems or in conflicts, we typically go back and check the charts of the leaders of the country. Remember, I said that the leader or the president of the country is like the CEO of a company, okay? So it's how they are projecting and manifesting their own personal energy into the decisions and how into their leadership, etc. So it's a reflection on how these different countries will do well, or how well they will perform in the coming year. So the first one, of course, we have North Korea. Well, actually Kim Jong-un, he likes the earth year. Okay, so how is Kim Jong-un going to do in the dog year? Well, that's why he has been quite active and very vocal and very noisy because he likes earth, he likes metal. And 2016, 2017 are both metal years, and then 2018 is his best year because he likes the year of the dog. So Bashar al-Assad, president of Syria, also he likes earth. Okay, and Vladimir Putin is actually, his chart is extremely weak chart, follow earth. He likes earth. So those are Syria, North Korea, and Russia. And now we look at Theresa May. She's the Prime Minister of the UK and leading the whole Brexit project. And actually, she does not like the Earth year. So that's why she's having a lot of struggles and difficulties and success when it comes to the execution of Brexit. And we already talked about Donald Trump having an earth penalty, also does not like the dog year, the earth year. And we look at Emmanuel Macron, I don't know how to say this, the French president. Actually, this guy is also not in good luck. Okay, that's why when he became president, I think he inherited a lot of tragedies. There's a lot of terrorist activities and a lot of conflicts with the political stance of France. So he has some hard work to do, and then the earth year is also not so supportive to him. So, and this is the new crown prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, and he is also does not really like the earth year. He has a little bit of a clash there, but since he was crowned, he's making a lot of changes within his government, and so he perhaps will continue to face some challenges and hiccups in this coming dog year. So that's how we follow. So it'll be interesting to watch global events in the coming year to see how what types of events will be occurring in these different countries as a reflection of the BaZi of those leaders. I want to pay close attention to the month of April. There's another month in there that we need to worry about, but in the immediate future, we want to look ahead into the month of April, because April is the month of dragon. Dragon, just like if you were born on the dragon day or dragon year, well, April is the month of the dragon, and from a BaZi perspective, the month will clash against the year. So energetically speaking, there's already some sensitivity around this window, and also the Feng Shui is not so good. This here represents, let me see, cannot read this if you can't read Chinese. This is the year, and this is the month. So if you remember the 2018 chart for 2018, we said that 5 was in the north, right? But we also have 2 in the west. Okay, so if you have a west-facing home like this, then you put 6 metal coins. But during the month of April, which is the month of the dragon, the 5 will be visiting here in the west for 30 days. And what happens is the 5 and 2, it will connect like this. And this is an unfavorable flying star combination. So during the months of April, you'll come to the month of April. If you follow my newsletter or my Facebook post, then you will be reminded. But what you need to do is, okay, let's say this is your front door. It faces west. So you're going to have 6 metal coins already there for the whole year. You're just going to leave it alone. But then when the month of April arrives, you're going to put another metal cure to take care of the 5. And in Flying Star Feng Shui, the cures, objects, they don't interact, okay? So they don't multitask. They have only one task. So you have 1 6 metal coins here to take care of the sickness. And then in the month of April, you're going to bring another metal object to take care of the misfortune that's there only for 1 month. Okay? So these are things like 6-metal coin, 6-metal rod, wind chimes, or any combination of object that represents metal. Usually I get a lot of questions when I'm doing this live, so that I'm able to clarify. But if you have questions, please let me know. All right, so just a few advice going to 2018. When people ask Master Lo, well, I know it might be a little bit bad luck, but what can I do to help myself? He always says health is number one. And indeed, it is true. Health is wealth. We always want to take care of that first so that we can show up in every aspects of life. We want to pay very close attention to our immune system. Here in the US, we have had an epidemic with the flu virus. It has been quite scary. A lot of deaths, and many people have been susceptible to the flu because it's already the telltale sign of how it's affecting our overall immune system. If you see an acupuncturist or a naturopath doctor, they can certainly help guide you through diet, lifestyle changes, and herbs, supplements, etc., to help you better support your overall energy and vitality. If you follow the chakras, it's talking about the root chakra. It's the base chakra of the body that holds everything together. And typically this part of the body is the hardest to clear if you ever go to see an energy healer, for example, because this is the area where we hold everything. You know, when we're angry, upset, sad, fearful, all of these negative emotions, we tend to hold it here at the base of our body. And so please implement different practices that resonate well with you so that you can go into the dog year with vitality and good health. And we're talking about the earth, so let's be kind to Mama Earth. It's talking about maybe finding more time and space to connect with nature. Put your phone down, put your Twitter phone application down, and go out and be with nature, be on the road. Nurture the soil. It's really, there's a saying that to truly heal the root chakra, you have to literally walk out in nature barefoot. Which is the most grounding aspect of how to incorporate that into our life. So yeah, nurture the soil, whether you have a garden, but also eat earth, meaning eating vegetables that are grown from the earth. So being one with Mama Earth. And of course, the noise around the environment is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the dog year is no exception. And no matter what happens in the political world with the approach and the ideals around that, we can certainly do our part to make smarter choices, to be a steward and a proactive participant in helping to preserve our natural resources, like recycling. I put this here, examine your earthly tribe, because it's really talking about your home life, your relationship with your people. Who are your people? Who belongs in your tribe? Who belongs in your circle? It's such an interesting time to be evaluating the relationship dynamic that you share with the people in your life. But it's also an interesting time to be examining your relationship with your biological mother or your mother figure, for example, whether it's been good or bad, whether she's still around or not. The earth energy is talking about mother, the essence of mother. And a healthy mother represents unity. It's the thing that keeps things together. It's the thing that binds everything together. It's the thing that anchors you down. And so, you know, whether you're also a new mother or a mom already, what is your relationship with your children? What is the essence around that? So much about Earth is also talking about our home base, right? Where do we belong? Where is our identity? What is our identity? So many people going into the Earth year with the the connection to spirit is really going deeper into trying to find themselves, trying to find their new self, where do they want to go in the coming years. It may not be the year for materializing things yet, but it can be a dreamy year. And so examine your earthly tribe is just an invitation for you to take a look around you and see not just the physical home that you live in, but also the people that you mix with. And I already talked about this, who is your mother, your relationship with your mother. But mother also signifies femininity. And with so much of the noise and scandal around sexual assault and scandal around the government and Hollywood, for instance, the feminine voice is becoming more and more powerful. And the West being a much more masculine environment, where is the source of your feminine power? How can we bring more of that into the surface to balance out the masculine energy? This is not just an invitation for women, but it's also an invitation for men. How can they cultivate different aspects to invite the softness in their lives, to appreciate the femininity, and to encourage that, not just in the workplace, but also in their relationships. Okay, quiet down for spirit. We already talked about the dog being a part of spirit and the connection to intuition. It is everything about the gut, right? So from a health perspective, we're talking about the center region of the body. So it's allowing yourself to have some slow time and rooting back down to earth, rooting back to home, to the home base. As you're going through this next round of identity examination, you can also make it an invitation for you to expand your mind through unconventional knowledge, and through this way, you can cultivate stronger intuition for yourself. Of course, I always encourage everyone to get a BaZi reading done. I have a lot of clients I work with throughout the world, not just here in Arizona. I do a lot of remote consultations, and it's just understanding how this dog year is going to impact you so that you can be better prepared and you can go into the year with more insight. And of course, you take care of the feng shui of your home. If you are interested in getting your home analyzed, I'm very happy to do this. I also offer remote consultations for feng shui. It takes a little bit longer because I'd have to coach you, but I certainly have done so in the past and happy to work with you if that is something that you are interested in. And just the last piece of advice, bring the fire back to life. Like I said, the dog year means the total absence of fire. And no matter what's going on in the world around us, we can certainly do our part to bring the fire back in our own life. What brings you joy? What other aspects of your life need more joy? And whether that's just listening to music or being out in nature or just doing something funny and lighthearted, and also making sure you're practicing gratitude so that you can see the world around you with a lot more compassion and perspective. So bring the fire back to life. Please follow me on Facebook, Feng Shui by Jen. I do a lot of postings and I write things like why 6 metal coins for Feng Shui and a lot of Feng Shui and BaZi tidbits, but also post events that are happening. So certainly would love to create a wonderful community of enthusiasts and students and practitioners to share ideas and to also learn from one another. We have a lot of great events coming up. But like I said, we are continuously updating this. So just visit my website at www.fengshuibyjen.com under events. And but these are some of the more prominent events that are coming up. I'll be teaching in LA in March, Scottsdale in June, Dubai in October, and of course we have Grandmaster Lo returning to San Francisco in August. So we hope to see you at one of these events. I also offer gift cards if you're interested in purchasing them. I think Valentine's Day is coming up, but there's always birthdays going around, and it's such a unique gift to someone that's very personable and customized and definitely memorable and life-changing. So you may contact me if you want any of that. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learned a lot. And I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, my email is fengshuibyjen@gmail.com. It's not listed here, but you can certainly get in touch. And hopefully I'll get to catch you at one of our events. Have a wonderful year. May the dog year be filled with good luck, good health, prosperity, and a lot of fun adventures. Thank you.